That was amazing. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Max, and you know what? Just screw the intro. Let's just get right into this thing. I love this film. I truly believe that this is a work of art, and dare I say, a masterpiece. From the second it started to the second and it ended, I was completely engaged and woven into the tapestry of this world that Eggers so passionately and painstakingly created. And speaking of Eggers, I will mention that you could also very clearly tell that this is a Robert Eggers film. It has his classic filmmaking techniques written all over it, which honestly I thoroughly enjoyed, more than if they were to get someone like Michael Bay in there to direct this thing. The great thing about this, though, is that it's a film that takes itself seriously, and never once did I feel like it was over the top or cheesy. I recognized it as a real depiction of Viking culture and ritual, even during some of the more out there and insane moments of hallucination or spiritual experience. And I think the reasoning for this was because everyone in the cast and crew took this seriously. You could tell that Alexander Skarsgård had a real passion for his portrayal as Amleth and wanted to hone that likeness into a form that we as the viewer could all experience. And if I'm remembering correctly, he was actually the one who spoke to Eggers in the first place that kind of nudged him into making this film. Now, I didn't know what to expect really walking into the theater. Was this going to be too artsy and convoluted and filled with symbolism that I didn't even understand it? Or was this going to be a war movie of like epic proportions that resembles films like Gladiator or Lord of the Rings? And honestly, I'd say that we get like a little bit of both, because it doesn't take place across countless kingdoms and vast arrays of armies. This is a very real and personal story that you experience by following our main character, Amleth. And I love that aspect. Too many times now I feel like we get movies or TV shows where there has to be some epic multiverse ending conclusion that will change the course of reality, and it's like, I don't need to see that cataclysmic event happen every single time. It gets so old and the stakes are kind of wear off that you never really feel like it actually has any significant meaning, But with the Northman, I was fully devoted to Amleth's quest for his revenge. Like, it is very clear that this man exists solely to save his mother and kill his uncle Fjolnir. But let's get a little bit more specific. There are 5 things that I want to mention that I think were so stellar that they need to be addressed in order for me to accurately and effectively express why I think this movie is such a masterpiece. Number 1, the score. The score and soundtrack carries the film, and yet it doesn't telegraph your emotions or manipulate you into feeling a certain way. Its sole purpose is to enhance whatever it is that you are seeing on the screen, or whatever emotions you are feeling at the time. From the guttural vocals of men chanting their war songs, to the impactful heavy beat of drums, accompanying haunting tones of horns and violins, you become completely immersed in the 13th century Norway. And fun fact, I've been listening to the Northman soundtrack in the gym, like on repeat, like for all my workouts, and they've never been more intense, especially when you're on that rowing machine and you feel like, you're on a Viking warship. It's pretty rad. Number 2, the acting. After seeing that awful Tarzan movie that Skarsgård was in, I was super skeptical about him being able to carry a film like this, but man was I proven wrong. Though he plays a very stoic character, he does have to emit emotions like sadness and anger and love and confusion, and he does this with ease. This was truly the first film I've seen him in where I didn't see him as Alexander Skarsgård, but as Amleth. The other stellar performance was by Nicole Kidman, where at the 3rd act, at the end of the movie, I didn't even recognize who she was because of how amazing of a performance she puts on. But honestly, everyone in this cast all around was just very talented and a true expert in their field. Number 3 was the set design and costume design. Now, I can't speak to this professionally or as professionally as I would like to, but from what I can tell and what I've read and researched about Viking culture, the costumes in this were much more historically accurate than what we tend to see on Netflix or something, with our characters wearing tunics and bearskins as opposed to leather and plate armor, but regardless of whether it was the costumes or the set pieces, everything looked and felt very lived in, and almost everything was filthy, like really dirty, which honestly makes sense for that historical period in time. Number 4, Robert Eggers. Sure, you could have hired any talentless hack in Hollywood to make this movie and have it be like a big blockbuster flick or push some political messaging or whatever, but only Eggers could produce a true art piece such as this, because that's exactly what this is: art. I mean, let's look at all the things that make this film wholly unique. Like his decisions to go with a different aspect ratio in order to emphasize the tall, looming set pieces and characters, and then holding on to scenes to let the audience sit with heavy emotions and not going into like cheap, quick cuts. Going with a more simplistic storyline in order to allow for more complex scenarios to play out, and to explore the mythology and spirituality of the Nordic religion. And even the decision to go with like more Shakespearean tone and script. These were all the things I really appreciate and respect him for doing. Number 5, it's a hell of a lot better than that Batman film we got a few months ago. No, but in all seriousness, overall, I'm gonna give The Northman a 9 or 9.5 out of 10. The only reason this doesn't get a 10 is just due to pacing issues. There were moments in the film that I really wanted to stay in and sit with, and other moments that I was thinking, okay, let's hurry this up a bit, you know? But other than that, I would highly recommend seeing this film for yourself. But just recognize that this film isn't going to be for everyone. What you are going to experience and what you're going to witness is not for the faint of heart, especially in the third act, nor is it for someone looking for just your average, quippy, mindless Disney Marvel movie. So if you would like to see my spoiler review, come catch me tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Pacific on my live show, Max's Man Cave, where we are going to discuss in excruciating detail every aspect of why this film is so great. So please stop by and say hi in the chat, and I will see you all there.